I was looking back over the video I posted for the first writing lesson that I put up last week on the channel, and looking at it, I think there's an important idea maybe to clarify, because the first thing I think I advocated for on that video, the first idea of the philosophy that I put up there towards writing is writing, every day or almost every day. And the idea behind that is not just sort of the habit side of it and sort of keeping momentum. The idea is that if you set goals that are more habit and system based rather than outcome based, you're statistically more likely to achieve them. That's really the crux of it right there. I mean, yes, having the habit's obviously good for the skill development, but just, if you were trying to achieve something, focusing more on maintaining the system rather than focusing so much on the outcome will get you much, much further, and your odds of success go up statistically much, much higher. As an example, if you found the person that said, in 2 years I want to have a finished novel that I can query, and you had the person that said, all right, for the next 2 years I'm going to write 6 days a week. The person who writes 6 days a week is probably going to hit that goal of writing the novel in 2 years. They're probably going to achieve that, much more likely to have achieved that at least, than the person who sets the goal of just, in 2 years I want to have the novel finished. And the main difference is just because you're showing up, right? If I set a goal to have my novel done in 2 years, I might dabble and get started maybe like the first maybe month or two of writing, stop, get into a slump, and then waste 4 months, and then all of a sudden, at the 6 month mark, come back and pick up. Whereas the guy who committed to writing, 6 days a week, he's already written past that at that point. He's already surpassed me by that point. Being consistent, have a consistent system is really the sort of the key to really accomplishing anything. And that's why I in that video there, I put up, in addition to obviously advocating for, kind of keep momentum, kind of keeping your interest, sort of avoiding that slump, is the idea of just developing goals that are system-based and not so much having goals that are outcome-based instead. And, I'm seeing that even more now, where I'm at the position now where a year ago, I wasn't writing at all. Like 1 year ago, I had taken my break from writing altogether. I was in that slump. And so, looking at it now, a year later, 8 months now since I started writing, again, something like that. So 8 months ago, I started writing again. And you see, in 8 months, yes, I wasn't working for a good portion of that time, so I got more done. But in 8 months, I mean, I've gotten a ton done just by the virtue of me showing up. It's not been so much that I went into this process thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to have written one novel by the end of the year. I'm going to have gotten this done like in 6 months or whatever. It was just write every single day. And now that I look at it, I see, wow, I'm relatively far in this process, and it's only been 8 months. So the systems side of it, the systems thinking is very, very paramount. And it takes a lot of the pressure off too. I mean, that's honestly the other idea with this, the idea of going with systems, is the idea that there's not a whole lot of thinking. You don't have to go in there and stress. You don't have to worry about, when you're going to have something done, because you've set your goal just to show up. If your goal is just to show up, you're taking all the extra pressure of setting these other more loftier goals off your shoulders there. And you're still accomplishing stuff. You're still getting things done, but there's no pressure to get things done in a certain time frame when you focus on the habit and focus on the system side of things instead. And so if you're the kind of person that's thinking, going into maybe NaNoWriMo season here in a few months, if you're thinking of maybe starting that book here before the end of the year, well, a good idea would just be to start that habit. Just start the habit of just writing every day, and make it something simple. Don't if you want to keep it vague, write every day. I mean, for me, that's been pretty easy. I mean, I've had days, you've seen days where I've been sick. I talked about how I had COVID last week, where I wasn't getting a whole lot done. And yeah, I just showed up and I wrote a little bit, it was what I could do that day, but I kept the habit going. That's the most important thing, is just keeping the momentum going there. And so I hope that helps if you yourself trying to get this process going. But again, this is more of a clarification on that first video there, and sort of why I advocate for more of a system and goal-based, a system and habit-based style, rather than more of a goal and outcome-based system. Yes, I put up goals. I put up monthly things I try to achieve, but those are secondary. Those are just lofty aspirations that usually are stretched, right? They're usually a little bit beyond probably where I'm comfortable, so it requires me to work a little bit harder towards them. But if I fail, and you've seen me before on these things, I've failed before. It doesn't matter. I'm still making progress because the habit and because I'm focusing on the system side of it first. That's the primary level. So for those that are trying to maybe get back into the writing, always remember that have your habits first. Make that your main course, and then when you want the dessert, make that your goals. Make that the outcomes. All right, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow.